Hi guys, welcome back to the WayOutDan YouTube channel. I actually had a quiet moment for once, so I'm gonna try to do this in the house while it happens, and I'll just see how it goes. Have you ever heard of First Amendment auditors? And do you know why they do what they do? Because a lot of people don't. And I find this kind of confusing because I've always thought it was pretty straightforward. So I thought I would make a helpful video to kind of explain why this sort of thing is important, or at least so you can understand like where they're coming from, even if you think they're overreacting and maybe don't need to do everything they do. So you have to understand, first of all, this didn't just come out of the blue. No, there's context here. There's social context. Um, it has happened that regular run-of-the-mill journalists of the established type, meaning they work for a company of many people. They're backed up by money. Will go out, looking for a start. There maybe they're covering a riot or whatever, and the police don't want them looking at a certain thing. Maybe it makes the police look bad, or maybe they just think that they're a distraction or whatever. But the police will detain and harass them, and just in general don't want them there. And then, of course, there's all these cases where people have gone to City Hall and they need certain paperwork, they need permits to do things they want to do, and the employees either just don't cooperate or lie to them or something, and then later they don't have proof that this happened. So I've actually heard advice from lawyers say always film all your interactions with public employees because there's so much corruption, and you want to have evidence that you actually did your due diligence and tried to get the right paperwork and yada 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 and all this other stuff. And especially police, because sometimes they'll lie about. Well, for example, I saw a video. Lady had a dash cam going. She was pulled over, and then to get her paperwork, she had to kind of reach, so she unbuckled and got whatever. And the guy told her that he had pulled her over because she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. She's like, "Oh no, no, I was wearing it. I just took it off now." And you know, she had video. So police will play mind games. They'll lie about things, trying to see if they can trap you into admitting something else. In addition to whatever they originally pulled you over for. So people say, like, videotape everything. And because there's so many claims of like police abuse by people, which look, I mean, a lot of it we know is made up. Again, because there's video. The video is actually good because the video, if the cops are wrong, it exposes the cops, and if the cops are in the right, it exposes the other people who are lying about the cops. And both of those have happened. This is why a lot of districts have now started requiring body cams, and so the cops can show, yes, we did everything right, we followed policy, we followed the law. This person fought with us, you know. So that is something that happens sometimes, unfortunately. And so video is good, and that's kind of the context. Um, and a lot of times, governments will use excuses if they don't want evidence of something. They'll say, "Oh, there's a sensitive area." They come up with some excuse why you can't film that area, or you have to come make an appointment. Well, then they have warning, and you can't really audit. And here's part of the clue in First Amendment auditor. It's right in the name. They are auditing. Think about your place of employment. Sometimes your boss's boss's boss might want to know what's really going on there. Am I getting the right reports? Might send a secret shopper or someone to go check things out. Or it even might be just an inspector that you know who they are, but they show up unannounced and they want to quickly look at everything before you have a chance to change it. See how things are being run. Now, within a company, that makes sense, and the boss has the right to do that, obviously. Well, in a country, and particularly in a country like the United States, which is at least theoretically a democracy and has a First Amendment protecting freedom of the press, obviously any individual citizen can go check up on them. As long as it's public knowledge. I'm not saying you can't go into, violate someone's privacy. You need a warrant for that. And you can't, look at all the papers having to do with national security if they're classified. And there's different levels of classification. But there's a lot of stuff that's not classified, but they still don't want to give it to you. Even though you can file a Freedom of Information request for it, they will delay and delay. And then it might go missing. That's happened before. And so, of course, anything public you can go and film. Obviously, that's the First Amendment. And, we're the citizens are ultimately in charge. So when we are the boss, when we go audit these things. So what has happened is you have these First Amendment auditors that they're walking around with a camera and and people like freak out and call the cops and say you're not allowed to film me. It's like, but you're in public. That's always been allowed. It always has been. If it was an established news organization with money behind it, that has always been allowed. I'd never heard of this even being controversial. If you're in public, you have no expectation of privacy. I mean, I remember about 20 years ago when they started putting like cameras that track who's running red lights, and also just even like just in big cities, like keeping track of even where people are going, because theoretically, if there's a terror attack, they might want to track where that the suspect had been. It's more information. People said, "Hey, this violates our privacy," and I remember the argument at the time was, "But you're in public. It's not. There is no expectation of privacy. That doesn't even make sense." And you want law enforcement to have the tools they need to do their job. Now I get it. There's still a balance of power issue there, I mean, and there's a cost issue. Is it worth the cost? I'm not going to get into all that. It's complicated. But as far as privacy rights go, it doesn't apply. And so it's okay for the government to do it. But then some of the same people that say it's okay for the government to do it say it's not okay for the private citizens to do it. See, that doesn't make sense. And so, anyways, and look, I get it. Some of these auditors are rude. It's like they're trying to get a reaction so they can put it on YouTube, make some money. But some of them, I've seen them. They just walk around. Some of them are literally making a travel video, and I've seen a lot of this on YouTube. I've seen a lot of people that do these travel videos, and they're talking about, and then yeah, this is a cool little place here on the pier, and this little store is interesting on the pier, and they're just going down talking about their life and kind of uh, highlighting these businesses to theoretically help their business, like drive traffic there, and they never get harassed. But for some reason, these auditors, they're doing literally the same thing, and they get harassed, and then they're told, you can't film here. I'm going to call the cops if you don't leave. And they're like, what are the cops going to do? This isn't illegal. The cops exist to enforce the law. They can't get involved in other sorts of disputes, in taking sides. That is that would be a very big abuse of power. You don't want the cops doing that. The cops are not arbiters between, people who are equals. The cops are only there to enforce the law as written by the legislature. That's all they can do. And if someone's doing something illegal, then they can be arrested and they can, file a court date and everything. That's something else. But if someone's just walking around filming, that's not illegal. Now, in some cases, it might be rude if you're just sitting there staring at someone, especially with a camera. Well, with or without a camera, that's getting their attention. Because remember, humans are not only predator animals, we're also prey animals. So we notice when we're being noticed. And we're also very social animals. And so we really notice it's very distracting if someone's just watching us and they're not actually engaging, right? So I get that. But in a lot of these cases, they're just walking down the street or they were just standing still filming a building and people walk past and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to be in your video." It's like, "Well, then why did you walk up to the camera?" Okay, go on. If you don't want to be in the video, keep move along. But they won't. They want to sit there and argue. So there's insane people out there. And so you have to understand the full context. There's a lot of corruption out there, and they're trying to find municipalities and other places that figure out which ones are corrupt and which ones aren't. And then if they are corrupt, it allows them to like fight the system. They get a judgment in their favor. It's then easier for other people to come in when there's an actual legitimate news story to do. In the future, it makes it easier. But they need to get in and make sure that the First Amendment is protected in these areas. It's super important because there's been so much corruption. And I wonder if people understand why that's important. And for the longest time, I could not figure out why people had a problem with them. I finally think I might have figured part of it out because there's other social context. There are people who make YouTube channels that do pranks, and they find unsuspecting strangers and film them and do weird things just to get their reactions, and it's annoying. And a lot of people don't want to be a part of it. And so they might see the First Amendment auditors as part of that, when really it's not. It's something else entirely. It's really just, you know, seeing who's going to react so they can be informed about what the First Amendment is and why it's important. And then if the cops get involved, it's to educate the police and to make sure that they're doing their job in upholding the law. And that's basically all it is at its core. And sure, some of them are rude, but a lot of them are not rude at all. And it's insane the way people react. I don't understand it. So, anyways, this has been my experience. This is what I've noticed. You can call it my lived experience, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I have no way of knowing whether I'm wrong. This is all I know. This is and so thought I'd throw that out there. Maybe it helps explain something if someone was confused. Anyways, as always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already, and the subscribe button if you haven't already. And don't forget to check out all the links in the descriptions, because I do a lot of other things outside YouTube that are probably more interesting. I don't know. That's for you to decide. Thank you for watching.